Hello everyone, my name is Awot, and today I'm going to be covering the newest patch notes from the latest Age of Mythology update. I'll be going over some of the more casual stuff and showing examples on screen. Exact number changes relating to competitive balance is not my area to go over. I'm sure we have plenty of nice competitive players to cover that. So I'm going to be covering the more general things that a casual player might expect. So I'm very happy that they made the alternative portraits we got through the events not exclusive, because it sucks when you want to get to a game like 2 years late and then you realize there's a bunch of stuff you can't get. Glad they didn't do that, and now it's available through the Ultimate Supporter Pack, which is part of the expansion pass that includes the Aztec DLC and the meter. Although I noticed they used the wrong image of Aranos here. That's his default image. I'll be showing the correct image of Aranos on screen now. This is the image that the supporter pack should give you. And then they fixed a bunch of things related to crashes. I'm so happy because my game is crashing very regularly despite having such a good build. A lot of crashes that occur in this game are really specific, so I appreciate them going back and bothering to fix these. But yeah, even though I'm glossing over it, I still appreciate the work they put into fixing all these things. Just going down to the next thing, I saw they finally added a shrine to the Aztecs. In case you guys didn't know, each pantheon would have a shrine, and these shrines typically appear you play on any of the biome changing maps, so Nomad, Unknown, Land Nomad. Those would randomly generate the shrines, and you got the Aztec one, it would just show the Greek one up until today, where they finally added a shrine exclusive to the Aztec biome. This will also apply to my custom maps that change biomes. So Awot Select has a chance of spawning a shrine, and you have an Aztec version of Awot Select, it will now show the Aztec shrine automatically. And if you look at it, it actually has a sick flame visual effect, so I like that. Makes it a lot more unique than the other rather static shrines we got for the other pantheons. Although I noticed they still haven't fixed the fallen column for the Japanese pantheon. That pantheon's missing a fallen column texture, which also has a chance of generating in biome maps, both in the vanilla game or you have my mod as well. This is one of the 3 selectable Japanese versions of Awot Select. Then moving on to some other stuff I care about, the purge effect now removes the head thing. Thank goodness. In larger team games, this was a huge problem when it would just highlight half the map, make it really hard to micro. Then the burnt water technology has a new effect. I'm going to show it on screen if I can. We'll see if it looks any cooler. And then this next one is really oddly specific. But if you're ever in a situation where you're playing Norse and you have Aztec units and you activate flaming weapons, it should look decent now. Maybe in a custom scenario, you might have this happen. I don't know what other scenarios this would occur in though. And then this next part's really important, as many of you guys may have known that the Peach Blossom spring that Fuxi has been broken for a while now visually. Gameplay wise, it was fine, but visually, it was just looking really rough with floating rocks. Just looked kind of wonky, and they finally fixed that by adjusting the rock underscore small underscore a thing that was attached to it. So that's cool that that was finally fixed. We do have a ton more fixes, and I'm gonna be glossing over them, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the amount of work and they put into all these fixes. It's just that both of them sound self-explanatory enough that I'm sure you guys can figure it out without needing any visual representation on screen. It did do a pretty significant change, which includes changing how powers play their noise. So previously, for example, you might have heard a noise from across the planet that has nothing to do with you in a giant team game or a free-for-all, for example. But now that's no longer relevant. If you're not looking where the power is, you basically will most likely not be affected by it. I also hope that this change fixes that really annoying spider layer bug, where the spider layer sound effect will just play over and over, and it's just so loud it hurts your ears. If any of you guys have suffered from that bug, let me know because it's really awful. It's just the constant screaming noise over and over. But yeah, most of these are pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just going to move on to the next part that has something pretty notable. So this is a nice change for Quetzalcoatl players, where your priests, if they're bloodletting on the temple for favor, your hotkey won't move them away anymore. This is similar to how Norse units who are building or priests or pharaohs that are empowering will not get moved by your hotkeys. And then they updated the compendium a whole lot, which is really cool because a big part of the game is that you're able to read up on so much mythology within the game and learn so much information exclusively from just having the game. You guys have to remember that this game comes from a time where the internet was still very archaic, and so finding websites for information was not intuitive, so having a game feed you that information in a compendium. So even despite now that we are living in a modern age where access to information is much easier, they still bothered to update the compendium, which I appreciate. And then Demeter's choices getting special text is the thing that we've been waiting for a while. In case you guys didn't know, whenever you age up to a certain character, there was usually unique text for it, but Demeter's characters, they just said that you got to that age of that character, you know? But now they should have funny and whimsical text, which I'm going to show all 3 on screen. On top of this, you guys didn't know that certain relics actually have extended text. So for example, the relic that says Head of Orpheus, if you claim it in your temple, the text in the top left corner will actually say Head of Orpheus the Bard. And then to reduce clutter in the main menu screen, the community tab has been finally removed. Previously, it was just there, but kind of useless and grayed out. But now both the community tab in the top right and the community event carousel in the bottom left are now gone from the main menu screen, making the screen look like how it did on launch, which is a lot cleaner. This change is actually so huge The game being limited to 144 frames per second has been a big complaint put off for a lot of people, and for them to suddenly just raise it by nearly double, just like that randomly, is so awesome. I'm so excited to try out higher frame rates on this game because you guys didn't know I actually built a PC with the intention of it running this game. Yeah, that's right. I started playing out Age of Mythology on a trackpad of all things, believe it or not, and I just liked the game so much I eventually built my first gaming PC for it. So this is huge. This is great to finally experience higher frame rates. And this change is a great one. In case you guys didn't know, you guys have the Bast or Hela portrait, and you guys would age up in the global queue, it would just show the normal ordinary image. But now when you guys age up with your alternative portraits enabled, it should show your selected portrait instead of the default one. And then this next change is massive as well. This has been one of the biggest complaints about the game since the game came out, was that your units do not listen to your micro commands. Let's say, for example, I have Huskarls, which are good against ranged units, and I tell them to go for my enemy's back line and attack his archers. If his front line attacked my Huskarls would stop what they were doing and manually override my command for them to go attack the ranged units and fight back against the front line fighting them. And as we know, Huskarls aren't exactly fitted to fight most frontline battles. So that was a huge detriment, and this is hopefully a fix. They said they made it better though, and not a complete fix, so we'll have to see how that acts. And then the relic queued movement thing is like, for example, I'm playing Atlantean and I have a hero villager and I want them to pick up the relic, deposit it, and then do something else. It has been bugged for so long where if you queue the commands, all the commands just get deleted by the villager picking up the relic, like, or it just didn't work out the way you wanted to. So I hope they actually follow your order of commands now based on what this is saying. And also, this was starting to affect warrior priests and their ability to build as well with the new Aztec DLC. So I hope that helps with the warrior priest as well. I'm sure some other scenarios this will help too, like the Kwafu hero that Nuwa has, but I honestly don't play that much Nuwa, unfortunately. And then this change is oddly specific. I hope you guys realize this does not affect diplomacy matches. In diplomacy matches, you can make an alliance of whoever you want, whenever you want, and then you can break those alliances at any time. When you played free-for-all skirmish, it basically just treated the match like a diplomacy match. So you could honestly just ally with all the bots and just watch them fight each other, and none of them will lay a finger on you. But now they're saying that if you're playing free-for-all in skirmish, it will not act like diplomacy anymore. You will have to kill them all eventually if you want to win the match. As opposed to diplomacy, where you can just ally, and then the last person standing, if they're allied with you, you just automatically win the match. This makes it an important distinction now between setting it for free-for-all and setting it for diplomacy in single-player games. But like again, this only affects single-player games. I'm pretty sure you can't ally in free-for-alls and online matches. And then this is huge. They made it so that you can no longer close off choky walls with powers. So a very popular thing that people have been doing is going on Jotunheim, for example, and just closing off the walls with certain powers so that people couldn't get through. This change should prevent that, but apparently I've seen some people complain that this change does a lot more than what it says here, and basically makes placement for these items very iffy and difficult. So I hope they fix that because I still like to place a decent amount of places. I just don't want them exactly blocking off walls and Jotunheim and stuff. And there's definitely a lot of middle ground between that. This next bug has also been a pretty huge one as well. So in case you guys didn't know, the wonder you build actually automatically gathers 1 favor per second after building it, regardless of what character you are or what pantheon you are. Egyptian monuments work the exact same way with them gathering favor over time. It's just the favor amount's a lot smaller compared to a wonder, which gets a whole 1 favor per second. You can see the exact amount of favor your monument's getting by just clicking on it. Anyway, previously, you notice when you finish building a wonder, you just got a ton of favor instantly as soon as you finished building. That was because the wonder started collecting its 1 favor per second from the moment you placed it, like to build it. So if you take 3 minutes, for example, to build it, that is 180 seconds, and therefore you will get 180 favor upon completion automatically. That is not how it's intended to work. It's only supposed to make favor after you complete it, right? But they finally fixed that bug, which should result in Egyptians and Wonder Age people getting a lot less favor initially. And this one's pretty huge as well. Norse players are getting a lot less favor now. Previously, Norse players were getting a ton of favor from certain actions such as fighting buildings, defending with buildings, hunting animals. You're supposed to get less favor from that than straight up normal fighting as Norse. But previously, there was a bug that just made it that you got the same favor regardless of what action you're doing as long as it was fighting and didn't care what kind of fighting. So this should hopefully fix that. Another important bug fix that will change how you play the game is Tezcatlipoca now spawns any random Aztec myth unit with obsidian shards. This makes your gameplay a lot less predictable, but also gives you more variety. But yeah, previously, the only myth units you could get from your obsidian shards, in Age 2, you would only get the snake. In Age 3, you would only get a turtle rabbit. Yes, that's right. Age of Mythology on several occasions have confirmed this is not an armadillo, it is in fact a turtle rabbit hybrid. And then on Age 4, you would previously only get soul guides. But now the obsidian shard should randomly give you one of 3 myth units from that age. And then thank goodness you can't just make all your catapulti waste wood trying to transform into a drop site anymore. Now if you queue one, it will only change one. Previously, if you used a hotkey to select all your catapulti, and then you accidentally click the button for livestock pen, it would buy livestock pen for all of them. So you had 10 selected, it would just waste 1,500 wood on the spot. And that was frustrating. So I'm really glad they made this change because that was really difficult to play with. And then crazy enough, they actually buffed Titans today. So the default Titan hit point is now 30,000 and they do a lot more damage. I'm not sure how to feel about this. I do like Titans, but I know a lot of people think Titans are cheese. We'll just have to see how that goes. This should also greatly increase the amount of HP that Shenlong Titan has because his Titan has increased HP due to the Peach upgrade he has. Then we make it to deathmatch and the balance changes, but I'm sure a nice informed competitive man can tell you what these balance changes mean. And then on all Aztec maps, they are incorporating more capybaras and less goats, aurochs, and elk. I get goats and caribou being removed. They were really out of place. And they have alternative animals that have the exact same stats, so you can replace them and not fundamentally change the gameplay. So the alpaca has the same exact stats as the caribou and elk, so those being replaced by alpaca are fine. Goats being replaced by capybaras is fine because they have the same values. I think the only difference is the capybara has like a single more health than a goat, but that doesn't really matter because 1 HP is just wait, HP. But removing aurochs and mass, I'm not sure how I feel about that because that effectively leaves some maps without as much reactive hunt, which is the kind of hunt that fights back when you shoot it, and that actually changes the dynamic of the map significantly, I feel, when you have less reactive animals and replace it all with passive animals. So I hope they add maybe an Aztec reactive animal soon, or just add the Aurochs back. I know Aurochs weren't exactly too native to the region, but I didn't find them that out of place, unlike the elk, caribou, and goats. Maybe they could swap them out for water buffalo, and then we could just all pretend that's some sort of North American buffalo in our heads, because that's honestly way less out of place than caribou, which are a winter animal in that region. But it's probably actually more realistic than putting alpacas and capybaras because you think about it, alpacas and capybaras are actually way more South American than the Aztec region. Not that I'm saying I hate them. If anything, I love them being included in the game, even if it stretches the realism. I would much rather have them in the game, have that fun aspect than the absolute total realism aspect. But I'm saying that, if we're already stretching it a little bit, why not keep the water buffalo instead of changing this map's absolute dynamic? But maybe I'm picking over nothing over here, so I'll let it go for now. And then biomes being updated to include Aztec animals, I think that just means they removed the caribou from the random biome list. The biome list being used in maps like the Unknown, Land Unknown, Nomad, Land Nomad. If you notice, those maps change biome each round and they use a native in-game biome list. So you probably won't see caribou in those maps anymore and you'll see more alpacas because the last time I played the Unknown and it gave us an Aztec biome, it had a bunch of caribou instead of alpacas. So that's what they probably mean. It does not mean that they added more Aztec animals. Do not get that wrong. And then I checked out their active bug list. It didn't seem like anything important was there. And that's most of the things for this patch notes. Let me know if I missed anything. You want me to cover anything? After I finished updating my map, I'm kind of on a hiatus, on a break from Age of Mythology right now, but that won't stop me from making videos because I still love making videos about the game, and I'll probably just be back playing it in like 2 weeks. Just on a small break playing like Minecraft and Team Fortress 2 right now. Oh, and thank you for everyone for downloading my mod. It's past 1,000 downloads now, and it's back to 5 stars. Thank you so much for the kind ratings. And of course, I'm listening to many of your feedbacks that you leave in the comments. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.